Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined in the studio today by Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nicol. We kick things off in Italy. What a statement from the league leaders. Napoli thrashing Juventus by 5-1. Osimhen with a brace in a game that Napoli dominated from start to finish. It puts them now 10 points clear at the top of the table. Juventus were on quite the run coming into this tie. Napoli destroyed them and surely now are hot favourites to go and win their first title since the 89-90 season. For more on this, let's welcome, shall we? Oh, what a time! What a beautiful time to have Alessandro Del Piero on. Before we go to him, let's start with Don, because really this was something special from Napoli, Don.
Dan, it was incredible. It was astonishing. Statement win against the Juve side who have won 8 on the spin. Not only winning 8 on the spin, 8 clean sheets on the spin. So you're trying to gauge what type of game it's going to be. You think it might be tight. Victor Osimhen showed up. I've been telling you for years, Dan, he's the best in the world. And he proved it tonight. He played against 3 Brazilian centre-backs in Danilo, Bremer and Alexandro. And he must have put them all on their backsides about 10 times in the game. The 3 of them were playing against a one-man wrecking machine because he was on fire. And Napoli, I mean, they scored 5, Dan. In truth, they probably could have scored 7. In the end, it was comfortable for them. They were astonishing. 10 clear, 13 clear of Inter.
They really were very special indeed. Alessandro, before we talk about Juventus, let's focus, shall we, on Napoli and how good they were over the 90 minutes today.
Oh, they were super good, unfortunately for Juve, of course, but the level of plays that putting together is the same like before the long break. So that is the most, I think, most important thing that came out from this game for Spalletti, because you go through steps, and the first step for Napoli was showing to the rest of the Italian teams how good they were, and then the second step was coming back from the long break and with the big games and do it again. So this is the second step that is check for them. And it went in a most amazing way because, as Don say, they dominate the game. Juve has a bit of reaction after the 2-0. They came up to 2-1 with Di Maria, but unfortunately, the Napoli tonight was too much for Juve.
Did you see this coming in any sort of way, Don?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I say yeah loosely because, as I said before, you're playing against the Juve side who've got 8 clean sheets on the spin. But I've watched Napoli so many times, Dan, and they are so aggressive. They beat teams 4s, 5s, 6s. It's what they do. They take teams apart early on in the game. Now, the pattern of the game, they scored inside 15 minutes. Osimhen got his goal. Then Kvaratskhelia got his goal. So they went 2-0 in front. And now you're thinking, right, away from home, Juve got loads of experience. Allegri went with experience, dropped a few younger players because it's a difficult atmosphere to play in. Then Di Maria scored, got it back to 2-1, and you're thinking, right, this is a test. Then they go in at 2-1, but the second half, they've just got too much energy for anyone, Dan. The way, Kvaratskhelia plays, the way Osimhen plays, Lobotka in the middle of the park, Di Lorenzo, Mario Rui, all over the pitch. They've got aggressive players who want to get to the ball first, but they've got amazing runners, they've got amazing athletes. And you see the side there, I mean, Politano played, they all played well, to be fair, Zielinski, all of them. But when you've got Victor Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia on their game, 2 young lads who are ridiculously strong, really, really quick, powerful, aggressive, they can tear anyone in Europe apart.
They're fun to watch, Stevie. The swagger with that attacking lineup.
It was fantastic. I think most sides, when they get a little bit of space and time on the ball, they can play. But what I liked about this Napoli side was when they got in and around the edge of the box, even with all the Juventus bodies that were there, the movement and the one-touch play particularly, I mean, it had Juventus all over the shop. Bremer coming in here was supposed to be one of the best centre-backs in Italian football. Well, the guy, not only did he have a shocker, but he was put under so much pressure that's why, more than anything, he had a shocker. As Don said, Osimhen gave him an absolute headache. But yeah, great to watch. From back, middle to front, just just a pleasure to watch.
Even though Don pretends that he found him, we've been talking about Victor Osimhen a lot, obviously, over recent years. And when you see him put in this sort of performance, the hype is very real.
It is. Osimhen was simply outstanding, as was Kvaratskhelia, who, I'll be honest, as a pairing, as a tandem, those two are as good in football as any other pairing in the world right now. And it showed. And Stevie's right. You look at Juventus's centre-backs, the three across the back, Sandro, Danilo, Bremer, looked decidedly average. And that's putting it as nicely as I possibly can. Even when in the second half, Costa started to drop back in, they simply had no answer for anything that Napoli did, for the tempo they played with, for the way they got bodies forward, and for the understanding behind Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen. This really was a decisive display by Napoli that Juventus simply couldn't have and didn't find an answer for. They had a moment. I thought when Napoli scored first, you'd get a response from Juventus. You didn't. Napoli then doubled their lead, and that's when Juventus started to play football. And they were good for the 2-1 with Di Maria. And up until Napoli got the third goal, I thought Juventus looked like they could threaten. But once that third goal went in, then it was over as a contest. And in truth, 5. You can almost say flattered Juventus.
Every Napoli side, you feel, since 1990 has been living in the shadow of Maradona and that team, of course, who last won the league. They've been so close on so many different occasions, Alessandro. Just try and put into words what it would mean to Naples, to the city, to the club, if they can go on and win it all this season.
Well, it means a lot. I mean, Napoli is a very particular city in Italy. And, being short many times in the past years wasn't enough for them, to be honest, because, but they always think, because we had Maradona, well, we won because of him and because of this amazing team that played with him, and a lot of amazing players that play with Maradona, to be honest. But lately, Napoli consistently is in the Champions League group stage. He's finished in the top 4. He's changed different coaches. We can remember Benitez, Ancelotti, Sarri. With all of them, they play super well. Spalletti now give them something more. When I was talking at the beginning about steps is a step of mentality, and at this point of the league, Napoli, not only the players play with joy, they play with energy, they falling mentally and physically in what they're doing, but they're also feeling that something's changed now. And this is the beauty, because when they play 100% like tonight, nobody can resist them. And we saw in the Champions League as well, not only in the Italian league. So if you want to face them and have a chance, they need to perform 60, 70%, and you need to perform 100%. And this is the maximum level that, because they've been through, they missed Osimhen for a couple of months, and they came up, Simeone was scoring a lot of goals. So when you have a team that also substitutes, make you, not, I don't want to say even better, but equal that the first 11, this is because the club works very well. And to be honest, Spalletti works very, very well. Worked very, very well, because we need to give him, a big round of applause, because this Napoli play astonished me.
They're going to do it, aren't they, Don? They should do it. They can't muck it up.
They can't, and they shouldn't, because they're too good. But the pressure is going to mount, Dan, because, as Alessandro said, they've not won the title since 89-90. The pressure's on. And when you've got a 10-point lead, everyone's going to look at Napoli being favourites, which quite rightly they are. But it's a case of how many horses can you take out the equation. Inter, in my opinion, tonight are 13 points as it stands behind. So you'd like to think they've got too much on them. Napoli are still in the race. I've never had Juve been in the race, Dan. I think I was on this show about 3-4 months ago when they were 16 points behind, and I didn't even think they made top 4. So the job that Allegri's done to get them into second is astonishing, absolutely astonishing. So the pressure's now on on Milan, really. Can they be flawless? Lecce at the weekend, they've got to make sure they beat them, and they've got to make sure that every single weekend, AC Milan, Juve, Inter are absolutely flawless, because if they start dropping points and Napoli go 12, 13, 14, no one's going to catch them.
Alessandro, can the players deal with this pressure? Because we know it is going to intensify as we get closer to the finish line.
But that's the next step for them, you know. There's two more steps from my point of view. The first one, how much they can handle this pressure, you know, to be top on the table and to get... I mean, we're pretty far away. We need to consider also that one. There's many games to play. But handle the pressure to be on top of the table and to go closer and closer to the target, now it's too early, to be honest. And the other step, very important for them, when the Champions League restarted. Because I think in the mind of a player like Napoli now, they say, well, guys, we're playing so good, everything is going so well, well, we can even looking to win everything. So let's see how they can handle it, you know, because Champions League, round of 16, quarterfinals, is going to be a huge thing in terms of mental, you know, in terms of what is inside you, not only the physical part, but mentally it's going to involve you a lot. So, but now you don't want to stop dreaming. So let's dream. You know, after that you score 5 goals at Juve, you know, you can think about everything. So it's the work of Spalletti that need to bring everybody down a little bit, calm down, and keep focus on result, day by day, step by step, Sunday by Sunday, Wednesday by Wednesday, or whatever is the game on.
So a dream for Napoli, of course, a nightmare. 90 minutes for your old side, Juventus, Alessandro. Where did it go so badly wrong today?
Well, we are talking about two different kind of plays and games and tactical side. You know, Napoli is fully dominant of the game, possession, one-touch game. You know, play together, and then of course in this picture, stars shine like tonight. Osimhen or Kvara as well, Lobovka, and you know, a lot of players played very well. But on the other side, Juve is a different structure. Team, and you know, and as Don said, you know, a few months ago they were even more. So, you know, if I'm thinking about Allegri now responding of question of how this has happened, and so the question for Allegri is going to be for sure, you know, it's better lose one game by 5 goals than losing 5 games by 1, and this is his kind of mentality. So he's going to go back and say, okay, guys, this is a very sad and bad page that we need to turn now and restart again. But Juve is in a position really tough. You know what happened. You know, in the past months with the owner and the president and all the staff. You know, they go through a lot of things. So they need to think about this game like, you know what, it's done. They are better tonight. Let's move forward. Let's win another straight 5-6 game, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, like we can do. Because this is the Juve. You cannot pretend too much. You know, they don't even have a Pogba yet. You know, Di Maria came back just now. You know, it was a lot of injury in the first part of the tournament. Chiesa as well. So this is 3 game player for them. So important for this kind of team, like they build the team. So
do you agree? Go on, Alessandro. Sorry.
No, it's of course on my side it's a little bit sad. You know, see after the game like this, you know, completely dominated from the other team. It's not good at all. But you know, this is football sometimes, and you need to turn the page. That's the only thing to do, and quick as possible. Hoping that you have a game in 2 days, so you can prove that everything that happened today is wrong, and it is just a bad day.
This is where we are for Juventus. Don, you just have to take it as a bad day and move on, beaten by a much better side.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, analysing the game, there was so many of their experienced players couldn't get into the game. As I said before, the back three got bullied. Locatelli couldn't really get in the game. Weston McKennie couldn't make no impact. I felt a little bit sorry for Chiesa, his first start for a long time. I think 12 months, I think his first start. Kostic on the other side, playing as sort of wide wing backs. They couldn't really get in the game because Napoli were overloading them. They're missing lots of players, like Alexandro said. Dusan Vlahovic is a major miss. But I think it's one of them, Dan. Sometimes, and Stevie might tell you as being a manager coach, some games you can look at the analysis and you can watch it. Sometimes you've just got to bury it. And I think that's what Max Allegri might do. He might just look at that tonight. He might even look at it tomorrow. He might not even show the players. And he might just bury it. But they've got a major game coming up next. They've got Atalanta next. So they've got to make sure they get back in that winning horse. And what you want to do as well, Dan, when you've been 8 unbeaten and you put a mini run together, then you get smashed up Napoli tonight. You say as a manager or a coach, right, let's set a target. The next 4 games, we go unbeaten. That's our mini target. 4 wins on the spin or whatever it is, but let's not lose a game in 4 or 5, whatever the number might be. So the Atalanta game now for Juve is going to be really full of pressure.
Where are we for a successful season for Juventus, Alessandro? Is it top 4? Would that be regarded as a good campaign, considering how they started?
Well, considering everything that happened in Juve till now, yeah, it's going to be a good result. It's sad to say because, you know, in Juve, you only go for the big ticket. You only go for the win the title. But you need also to be honest that till now was injury after injury, problems after problems, you know, a headache after headache. You know, that wasn't even this 7 game straight win wasn't a good moment. You know, you lose players, you don't have full recovery from Chiesa. It's the first game tonight from the first in the first 11. Pogba is not even yet come back yet. I mean, so to be realistic, arrive in the first 4 is going to be a good result this year for Juve.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.